Hello, welcome to part 3, and I want to try and start getting all the point motors fitted. So I'm going to be using these Gaugemaster ones, and these are the Seep point motors. So I've got all of those ready to go. I've got a power supply, which should give me enough power, and I'm just going to plug that in on one of the connectors on the front there. I like to use a separate power supply rather than the one off the Gaugemaster controller. I think it makes it a little bit better. Got plenty of solder, plenty of wires to do that, and I have a capacitor discharge unit. So this should provide plenty of power. Now it's only got to do 4 points, but it's plenty on there. I've also got a control box that I'm going to put on the layout. I might actually have it roughly about there, I think. And then it can be operated either from sort of the back, looking down like that, or it could be operated from the side or the front. And I think that would work quite nicely. I will be putting another piece of board along here eventually to hide some of this. So if it was at a show, you wouldn't actually see all the video, but as an operator you do need to be able to see it. And to finish the points off, before I change subject, I've got all the switches that I need, and these are just a basic I think a 5 amp switch, but you don't need that much current. But it's just a spring centre, so one way it should flip the points one way and the other. And I've just put a small map on the box itself, so, and the map will just have the trying to think what it is. It's a mimic board. Yes, sorry about that. So I think really I've got everything I need. I just need to get it started. So that's where I'm going to go next. Right. So I've made a start just on the control box, and I've still got a switch to fit there. I've actually got them on order. I thought I'd got some more switches left, but I must have used the last one on the other layout. So all I did was create a little drawing in PowerPoint, print it out, and then put my switches in. And these are just momentary switches, so make life a lot easier. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a bus wire along all the centre ones, and then that's like the common for all the points. So I'm going to just sort of, let's see, he's got a hole through. Not really, no. Well, I think they do, but the wire's a bit too thick, so I'm just going to solder that across. So, but I will hook it on one end, and then I can hook it around the other end as well. And what I could do is just wrap it around like that. Actually, that might make it a bit better. So let me get the soldering iron and I'll get that soldered up. Oops. Right, that'll do for the main bus bar coming in. Okay. Pretty good joint there. That'll be better. Everything's all secure. So I just need to make a hole in the board there. Need to decide where I'm going to put this box. I think more nearer the power switch coming in, something like that. Oh, you probably noticed I've got some extra wires there, and I did these on purpose, and these are extra droppers for future-proofing the layout. So if it wants to ever go to DCC, all I've got to do is just wire these up to the the power bus. So I'm just going to get my CDU unit in sort of a rough position around about there, I think, something like that. So I've got power in here, power out. I'm going to put a small bus piece on there, and I want to get my point motors in. And it's sometimes a little bit tricky to see actually the hole in them. I just like to use like a torch just underneath the board. Gives me a really good idea exactly where the small hole is that I need to just thread that point motor through. It makes life a lot easier. I've just got to sort of centre that. And there's lots of different ways people do this. I always just sort of do it by just seeing how much space it goes from one side to the other. So actually I'm going to screw these in, but I'm just going to just, before I do that, just drop a small bit of super glue just to hold it in while I sort of drill, screw these in. I seem to have got it all over the board. It's just, I'd prefer to do it this way. It just means that I'll just let that set, and then I've got some little screws. So obviously this board's only 6mm, so I've got some 4mm screws there, so I've got no chance of actually going through the board itself. Right, I've got all the point motors all in place now. And I've just fit the CDU unit. And just to make life easier, I've put all the point motors facing the same direction. And I'm just going to add just a small strip of copper and get the backing off. Oh, tearing it. Yeah, it doesn't matter too much because I don't need it that long. But the idea of this is it's just the common. So it just makes life a lot easier trying to put them all into one connector. You can just solder them so the common then can come from the points to here and then one straight to the CDU unit. I'm also going to put a lighting bus in while I'm here, so I'm going to do that now. It's just nice and easy. Right, for these it's going to be just a simple one of B, A and C for the common. So these do have switches actually. But I'm not going to wire any switches in. I don't need that. Maybe I use that at a later date, and I can put those onto the mimic board if I wanted to. But I'm just going to wire all the C's So I'm going to take the wire from there over to on the just onto the common there, and then the other common will go from there to the switch box. So I'm just going to get all the wires up now from C to there. I just want to tin these. As well tin them all while I'm at it. I've already stripped and tinned the wire. And then I can just trim that to the right length. I'm going to do the same on all the other point motors. Just wire the common one up first, and then I'll start to wire all the switch ones up. Alright, I've just got the last few wires to add on. And I'll just, it's a lot easier with the magnifying glass, so. And I just noticed I got a bit of yellow cut off there from the cable. So what I've been using is just red and black. And I'm going to cut that off to a reasonable length. And then I can then just drop it through the hole in the board, ready to attach the switches. I've also just lengthened the two wires that will go to the CDU unit for the power in. So I'm going to need to just put some sleeves on there. So I'm going to do that now. So as you can see, because these connectors have the wires pre-soldered and they're not very long. I didn't really think about that. So I just I've just added my sleeving on. There's two ways you can do this. You can just warm that up with a soldering iron. Nice easy way, nice safe way, or like I like to do is just quickly do it like that. And then I've just got to put those wires into there. Tighten those up. And my screwdriver's a bit long. There. Right, I'm going to just tidy up the rest of the wires just underneath. So So you can see that I'm still, all the wiring just needs to be just tidied up now. So I'm going to do that, get that all tidy so it's all nicely tied together and cable tied up, and then I can do the control panel. Oh, before I do that, I've got one more wire that I need to fix, which comes from here to the switch. So I need to make sure that I have got, and I start cable tying and then I realise that I've missed one wire. That is so annoying. And where's my solder? It was just a shorter screwdriver. I just can't seem to see at the angle that I'm at. There we go. It's just not tight in it. It's tight enough. Now I can just drop that down. And then that's the common wire that will go to the bus bar that I soldered onto the switches. So I'm going to tidy this up and flip the layout back over. Oh, that's the wiring all nice and neat now. I really do need some clips though, just to tidy that up onto the backboard. I will get some of those. I haven't got any at all left, so just need some little cable clips. And obviously I've still got these are loose, but therefore if it wants to have a be DCC like I said earlier. But now I've just got to wire up to the control panel itself, so that's the next job. Right, my extra switch came for my lighting, which I've got a three-way, so centre off and then on and then on. And the reason for that is because I'm going to do a day mode and a night mode. So the day mode will be sort of an overall light, which I'll show you once I've got it all up and running, and then you'll see really what I mean. So I do need to add some extra wires now for the lighting. Problem is with this one, it's going to be all three red wires. So I'm just going to add these in before I seal all the box up. And it's nothing really to do with the points adding this switch, but it is all about the control box really. So oops, I get moved when I was trying to let it cool down then. I'm going to make them roughly all about that length. I'm going to chop a bit more off afterwards anyway. And one thing I do need to do is just make sure I mark which one's the middle, really. And it becomes a guessing game. Trim them down a little bit. What I have done in the past is I've left these on one piece, and I should have done that, and that always then tells me that they're the ends and that one's the middle. So I'm going to put the middle one through one hole and the two ends through the other hole, and then that'll give me a good indication until I flip the layout upside down and go which one went through which. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm just going to get these points wired up, and I've got plenty of cable, so I'm going to chop them all. I don't want to chop it too short. I'll feed it back through. I'll chop them there actually, and if that is too short, I've stuffed myself. No, I should be absolutely fine with all that. And as you can probably notice, I have no idea which one goes to which point, so I'm going to have to do the testing method. So I wasn't really too bothered about actually knowing which one went to which. So I want to wire this one up first. I'm going to get my power supply plugged in. Not sure if it's on the bottom connector or the top connector here. I'll have to mark them up soon. Okay, I didn't get any switch there, so I'll just pop that in the top connector. Right, so I know that one is actually the middle one, which is actually this switch here. So I could actually just wire that one up now. Why I've got that one. One thing I like to do is when the switch goes down, the point motor goes down, so I need to just double check that one goes. Oh, so where's that wire gone? Oops. So that should, which is all working right. So let's find the wire into this one. You can't really see that one in the board there. Oh, looks like that one's probably that one there, yeah. Okay, so that was a good guess. So that goes, oh, so it wants to be the other way around. Sorry about covering the up there, I'll just try and hold it with my hand. But there, that should now up. So I'm not sure if that's coming out that well on video, but as you push it up, so just got the other two to wire in now. So let me wire those in. And then I'm going to trim these bars off, and that should be all the points wired up. Don't need any more wires in this box, so I have to just see if I can get that. So that's everything wired in. It's nice and neat. There's a little bit extra that will get pushed through, so that's not bad actually. And I've got my lighting bus there. I've just separated it, so there is one wire that goes and it will go all the way across. The other way just goes through the board, and that's going to go to the lights in the top for the daylight lights. So as you can see, I've got power to the CDU unit. So if I switch any switches on there, it will go out. And this is the importance of the CDU unit. You can't stress your points. So you'll see that one flick across. So once the light's gone out, there's no more power to the points, and it won't burn the point motor over. So, and also one with a good amount of capacitors. Look, dropping the soldering iron. Good amount of capacitors there. Really gives a good powerful throw of the points. So the last thing I really need to do is just trim these flush. And I've tried trimming these in the past with the sort of a Dremel tool, and it's just overheated them and melted the plastic. So I just use my cutters now and just gently do it initially. And wait for it to just come off, you know, so it should be fairly flush. Yeah. So it's worth just double checking with the locomotive as well, just make sure that they're not going to catch. So I'm going to just trim the rest of them off, and that's really the point's all nice and done. So let's just make sure that that one's switching across. Yeah, not broken any of the plastic, so that's all good. Right, thank you for watching. Not the most exciting job, wiring points, but it's a necessary job. So, and everything's all working fine. So I think the next jobs will be quite exciting once I start to get to adding some detail on there. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed me doing a little bit of wiring, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Have a good evening and a good rest of the day. Take care.